Hello and welcome to the Korean Beauty Show podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Lee, the founder of Style Story, where you can shop, learn and explore the world of Korean beauty, and the founder of K-beauty brand Jellico. So welcome back to the show. I know we've had a slight interruption to our schedule for these past couple of months, and I apologize for that. As you may have heard if you listened to one of the previous episodes, I have had a lot of problems moving into my new place. It keeps getting delayed, so I am in temporary accommodation, and I have just had the worst luck trying to find, firstly, a space to record that isn't constantly being drowned out by construction noises in the background. I obviously also have my baby at home with me, and if you have ever tried to record anything or do anything and have a silent background with a baby in the house, you'll know that that is really, really hard. You basically need to time it with naps and things like that. So look, I apologize. We are very out of schedule, and I am planning to get back into schedule as soon as I can. But in the meantime, we're just going to muddle along and see how we go. So look, what I'm going to do today is actually share an interview that I did back in June with an organization called KoreaProduct Post. And I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am still working on the new episode, and I want to actually record video to go along with that. So that's its own thing. I just need a little bit more time for that so that I can get good quality audio and video together for you for that episode and put it up on YouTube as well. But the other thing is, this interview that I did actually covers a lot of topics that I think that our listeners will probably be interested in. So we obviously talked through some of my background and my journey from law to entrepreneurship, as well as how I actually built my businesses. So I know from time to time listeners do reach out and sort of ask me questions about that. So that is covered in the interview. I also talked about some of the challenges that I faced along the way, and some more broader topics like, for example, how Korean beauty has impacted global markets, and some of the strategies for penetrating international markets as well. We also did a little bit of a look at what's next for both the industry and also for my brands that I run. So I'm going to share that audio with you today. Now, look, it is not going to be the same quality as the audio that I usually share with you guys, and that's because it wasn't recorded in a studio setting. So I apologize in advance if it's not up to scratch, up to the quality that you are used to, but I still think the content is interesting and that, you might take away something useful from it. So if that's the case, I hope that you'll enjoy it. To let you know a little bit more about KoreaProduct Post. So they are actually a resource site for not just Korean products, but all things K-wave, Hallyu as it's called in Korean, and they give people the information that they need to better understand the best of and the best from Korea. So they also create a lot of content featuring things like products and trends and whatnot, everything from beauty to fashion, tech and lifestyle, as well as K-pop. So if that sounds like your jam, I think you will absolutely love the contents that they create. And this was an interview that I did with them specifically related to K-beauty. I'm going to be doing another interview with them at the end of October, more specifically about the K-wave, and I'm going to be talking through some of my experiences with Hallyu and the Hallyu trends in Australia as well. So I would love for you guys to come along and join that chat live if you are interested in that. But without any further ado, I will share the episode for this, for the interview that I did with them. I really hope that you enjoy it. And don't forget to stay tuned and stay subscribed for the next episode, because we have a little bit of a bombshell news that has been released in Korea that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So stick around for that on the next episode as well.
Your background is truly fascinating. To know that you started as a corporate lawyer and in Australia and then moved to Seoul as a trailblazer in the Korean beauty industry. Can you share some more about your journey and what inspired this drastic change from law to K-beauty?
Sure. So, like you mentioned, I first visited Korea in 2011, and I actually did a semester of my law degree at Yonsei University, which is in Seoul. And that was where I first discovered K beauty products for the first time, fell in love with them, and I decided to bring a whole lot of them back with me to Australia because I thought other people I knew would love them too. And at the time, I already had a job offer ready and waiting for me when I finished uni at one of the top law firms in Australia. So I started my, I guess, career as a legal professional in 2012, working in Australia. And because I discovered these products, I was learning more about them as I was also, working as a lawyer. And people would often ask me, what products are you using? Like, your skin looks amazing, your makeup looks amazing. And so very naturally, I just started talking to people about the products. Oh, well, I found these products and you wouldn't believe it, but, there's this whole industry over there. And very naturally, the amount of people in my office and in my surroundings who are asking me to get their products was kind of gradually increasing. And I, just as a favor to them, used to research what I think would be best for them and try and import the products from Korea to Australia to give them to them. And it was a few years into doing this that someone said to me, why don't you set up a business? You're selling or giving so many of these products to so many people. And, at the time working as a lawyer, I thought that sounded ridiculous. Why would I do that? But her words kind of played on me for the next year or so. And finally, I took her advice and I set up, it really was just a side hustle, a side business. I used to get home from my job and then fill the orders at night or early in the morning. And on the weekends, I would do the accounting, do the books and things like that. So that was sort of my first foray into Korean beauty. And then my law firm actually reached out to me and sort of said, look, we are opening an office in Seoul. We know that you have this prior experience with Korea. You have the experience that we're looking for. Would you like to actually move to Korea and, go and work in this new office? So that's kind of how I came back to Korea. And that was 2016. And I've been here ever since.
So that is simply unique. So are you still continuing with your law
No.
practice? No.
Okay. No. So I kept going for a few years. And what ended up happening was the business was growing. K Beauty, the demand for K Beauty was really increasing as well. And it got to a point where I couldn't really do both. My health was suffering and I had a bit of a health scare. And that kind of made me take a step back and look at everything and go, well, what do I really want to be doing? I can't do both things and I can't do both of them really well and take care of myself. And, I chatted to a lot of the lawyers that I had worked with, mentors and things like that. And I said, what should I do? Because I'm torn. I have this career and it's a very safe career. And I know what will happen if I stay in this career. And everyone that knew me was like, you will regret it if you don't give this business a chance because you're doing something quite unique. And you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the business to see how it goes. So on the basis of that, I decided to quit my job as a lawyer and I went all in on K Beauty, which was a pretty bold move. I was pretty nervous. It took me a long time to finally make the call. But yeah, that was, I think, 2018. And yeah, so now it's 2024. It's been a while since I practiced. Yeah.
You do have quite a lot of things in your plate right now. As you see, there's podcast. You are a K beauty expert on a radio show as well. You have your own brands.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So as you saw that you said, the K beauty industry is quite booming. It has a global impact. So how exactly do you meet the challenge, the requirements and expectations of consumers globally? And basically, how do you connect with the international audiences? Because every country, every region, they have certain specific mindset that they work with. So how do you overcome that? And how exactly
so I think
the industry is doing it?
That was a really, really big challenge in the beginning. So we're talking 2014. This was like just the start, I guess, really of Instagram. And when, brands are becoming active on Instagram, there used to be a lot of bloggers back in the day. And my big challenge, I guess, was introducing the products to a completely different market. And I remember in the beginning, a lot of people used to say to me, oh, well, are these products only good for Korean skin? Like, will they work for white people? Or, and so that was a really big hurdle to jump across. So what I used to do back in those days, I actually used to reach out to people that had a bigger platform. So people like bloggers and influencers, and explain to them what I was doing. So I would say, hi, I'm Lauren, and I've started this store. We are, bringing Korean beauty products to Australia. This is why they're different. This is why they're good. Would you like to try them? And, people would either say yes or no, and then we'd sort of take it from there. And it was, that kind of way of doing things now is, very different. You wouldn't necessarily do it the same way in 2024 as you would have in 2014. But I feel like that was really good because as I grew and as the business grew, I got to learn more about what kind of questions people had. What were they curious about? What were the things about Korean beauty that were confusing to them that they didn't understand? And then we would put out content and, make, I guess, create information that answered all of these questions that they had. So it was just a very organic way of sort of delving into the industry. And, a lot of trial and error. There were a lot of things that did not translate very well into the Australian market, just because it just wasn't a very natural fit. One of the things I can think of off the top of my head is like whitening products and brightening products. A lot of Australians did not understand that at all. And we used to get a lot of pushback. People would be like, I have spent so much money to go and get a fake tan, a spray tan. I want to look as tan as possible. I do not want to use any products that are going to make me look white, because Australia has a very different beauty ideal than the Korean beauty ideal. So that was one of the pain points. So just learning, I guess, what were people worried about, what was going to make them hesitate to purchase, and then solving all of those problems, those pain points for them along the way, and introducing products that would solve the problems that they had as well.
That's quite insightful. I mean, if any entrepreneurs are watching this, they can learn how they can forge this path in this quite competitive industry, basically.
Yeah.
But we also see this K-beauty is impacting global beauty standards. So what is it that makes Korean beauty industry so popular with masses? Why are international audiences are now going for these products compared to others? What is it that makes them special?
I think the thing that K-beauty did really well from the very beginning was make skincare fun again. I think for a very long time, for a lot of people, skincare wasn't something that they thought about a whole lot. It was a chore, and it was something that a lot of people had to do, maybe because they had bad skin, acne or something like that. They were forced to pay a bit more attention to their skincare. But for the bulk of people, skincare was not something that they worried about. They didn't spend a lot of time, money, or anything on it. And Korean beauty sort of came through with all of these really fun products, great packaging that made people curious about what it was. And I think that's what captured people's attention. They were doing something different. They were using different ingredients. They were using different packaging, even the routine. I remember in the early days, there was a big focus on the Korean beauty routine is so different to the Western beauty routine. And there's all these steps and you do this, and there's 10 or 12 or however many steps. That was getting a lot of media attention. So I think that was kind of the first wave of K-beauty. And the second thing that I think then really, really helped was the pandemic. I think the pandemic, which saw a lot of people at home, just stuck in their same routine, a lot of people found that doing their skincare, giving them something to look forward to, having a self-care moment at a time when there was a lot going on in the world, that really was beneficial to a lot of people. And I think that was kind of then the second wave of K-beauty that then really took off, with a whole, like it's really exploded all over again, I think, post-pandemic, and particularly this time overseas, in the Western world. I think with the first waves of K-beauty, it was a lot more Asia focused. So there was always popularity in places like Thailand and Singapore and things like that. But now we're seeing it globally, even in places like India. Obviously, in America, it's really, really taken off, and it's no longer a niche anymore. It's gone mainstream. So I think that's kind of the globalization of K-beauty has come in waves and stages.
Yeah, we're finding a lot of international brands. They have opened local stores in almost all the popular countries in huge markets.
Definitely.
So, what are some latest trends and innovations that the industry is focusing on, and what amongst those that you find is exciting?
I think the biggest thing that I'm noticing at the moment is a real focus on devices and ingredients that let people kind of play dermatologist at home. So for a lot of people in a lot of countries, it's not that easy to access dermatology and maybe professional skincare services because it's expensive. There are long wait times and things like that. Now, that's not the case in Korea. It is a lot easier to find all of that stuff here. It's a lot cheaper and more accessible. But overseas, that's been a huge pain point for a lot of consumers. And I think what we've noticed in the last few years that is trending in Korean beauty is these science-backed ingredients. We're seeing things like retinol, collagen, peptides, things that have, been studied, have data behind them, in addition to a whole range of different devices that people can kind of use at home to make their skincare routine a little bit more professional. So that's kind of what's trending at the moment here. And I think one of the things that excites me about that trend is that I think that this is going to naturally lean into probably the next stage, which will be AI in skincare and how we can actually incorporate AI to make our skincare routines better and work for us more. So I think that's what I'm seeing a lot of on the ground here at the moment.
Yeah, pandemic also brought beauty devices at home because people could not go out and do their skincare routine and take care of it. Exactly. Yeah. So while the industry is booming currently, what do you see that would be the potential challenges in the future as we move forward? Will there be any significant changes other than AI that you mentioned that would impact the industry?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things at the moment that I'm noticing is the sheer number of brands and products. There is more competition than there has ever been before. And with so much competition in the market, it can be really hard to cut through the noise and actually stand out. That's one problem. And I think the other thing that a lot of Korean beauty brands really need to pay attention to and focus on is partnering with the right people to actually grow their brand. So what I've noticed a lot of is that, particularly with indie beauty brands, that they will kind of sell their product to anyone. Anyone that has maybe a store overseas, they're happy to just give them the product. But I think if you are going to be long-term and strategic about where you want the brand to go, that can cause a lot of problems. It can cause a lot of problems with pricing. It can cause, because it tends to be a bit of a race to the bottom, that whoever is selling the product for the cheapest price will end up getting more sales. But that store or that person running that business may not be the best person to actually grow your brand for you. And I guess the other problem with that is if you're not keeping a hold of your pricing, it causes a whole lot of problems when you then want to go offline with other retailers, maybe more prestigious retailers, your big box retailers in the States, for example, or the global multinational, offline beauty brands. They can't really do anything with a brand that has no margin built into it and that everyone has access to. So it is a double-edged sword. brands tend to sell to a lot of different people because they want to get their sales up there. They want to get notoriety for the brand. But I think I see a lot of brands making that mistake. And long term, it really hurts their prospects of ever succeeding. And particularly, if it's not a brand that's run by one of the larger conglomerates, they have a limit to how much money they can spend marketing and all of that kind of thing. So I think protecting your brand, protecting your distribution channels, and protecting your pricing is very, very important. And the bulk of the brands that I see in the market at the moment don't do that very well, which limits their prospects of long-term success, I personally think. So I'd say that's definitely one. All of the costs of acquisition in our industry have shot through the roof. So back in the day, it used to be quite easy to, I guess, have that viral moment for a brand, or run, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and things like that, and see a decent return on investment. And the prices for all of those kind of things has just shot through the roof, which means it's more expensive than ever to actually acquire new customers. I saw something the other day, and I think this is probably not far off the mark, is that you need $1.5 million to successfully launch a beauty brand as of now. And I think that's probably getting towards accurate with the costs of everything and how it's all blowing out. So I think it's a lot more expensive than people realize as well to actually successfully launch a brand, have enough products in the pipeline to keep people interested and enough things to sort of talk about as well. So there's some of the challenges that I see. I think, the fact that K-beauty is so accessible these days can be a little bit of a double-edged sword for a lot of brands.
While, as there are many brands, while we can be guaranteed that the bigger brands are maintaining that required standards in production and everything, does that hold the same for all the smaller brands which are basically wanting to sell their products as fast as possible, as quick as possible, or do they face any challenges while using those products?
I don't think so. As a general rule, I think that most brands, there are obviously standards here in Korea that brands need to abide by, and there are standards overseas as well. America has just introduced new legislation as of last year, MOCRA, which is aiming to improve the safety of cosmetics in the market. Australia has always had a very strict regime. And there are like agreed lists of chemicals that you can use in cosmetics and all of that kind of thing. So every country regulates it differently, but brands will need to comply with the regulatory framework in whatever country that they are selling into. Europe is another one that has very strict conditions for brands that are looking to enter the European market. So I don't think that is necessarily something that consumers need to worry about. The other big thing is, I guess, if there were brands that are taking shortcuts, for example, long term, that's only going to hurt the brand because consumers are very savvy about these things. If there is a product that's not up to scratch that hits the market, people have a way of figuring these things out. We've had scandals in the industry before with things like sunscreens, brands doing the wrong thing, not doing testing that really should have been done given the type of product that they were selling. And, the PR blowback and the negative impacts to their brand, I think it has a way of sorting itself out. And the brands that were caught up in that scandal, the brands that maybe didn't do the right thing, they're going to forever be tarred with that brush. Now, whether that is, something that they can overcome or not really depends on the brand, but there will be a certain, subset of consumers that will never trust that brand again because of scandals like that. So regulatory compliance, safety, all of those kind of things are a very, very important thing that can't be ignored, particularly if you're wanting to build a long-term success for the brand. I think that's the cornerstone of any good brand. Yeah.
That's quite good to know. So what are your future plans for Jellyco and Style Story? What can we look forward to moving in some more international markets? following some latest device trends, or what is the campaign?
So I guess we have actually just launched 3 new products for Jellico just last month, actually. Technically this month, we're still in June. Yeah, technically this month. So we launched our White Truffle Souffle Serum, which is a barrier repair, skin strengthening serum. And we also introduced our new retinol collagen serum, Bee Jelly Overnight Dream Serum. And that is, I guess, our first foray into more active skincare, because our brand focus is all about bouncy, soft, jelly skin. That's our brand motto. So we really focus on hydration. So this is our first foray into something a little bit more active and a little bit more, I guess, exfoliating than some of the other products that we've done before. And we've also just released our pimple patches as well. So one of the things that we are working on in the background is in this AI space that we are actually wanting to introduce onto our website technology that will read the customer's face if they agree, if they would like this service, and tell them what are the skin issues that they are currently experiencing, whether their skin is dry, dehydrated, oily, breaking out, and then match them up with their perfect Jellico product, just to take away any confusion that they have, before they purchase our products, so that they know that they're getting the right thing for their skin. So that's what's coming next for us. Style Story, actually, so we have been distributing other Korean beauty brands for the last 10 years. And we just announced that as of the 1st of July, we are no longer going to be a distributor for other brands' products. We're bringing that chapter to a close. And going forward, we're going to be focusing exclusively on our own brand, on Jellico, on the podcast, which is, a source of information for a lot of people. And then the consultancy part of our business, which is actually working with people in the global beauty industry who are wanting to know how the Korean beauty industry can work for their business. We work a lot with estheticians, beauty brand founders, and things like that. People looking to either manufacture in Korea or maybe introduce a line of Korean skincare products into their salon or spa. So that's the part of our business that we think has, I guess, the most value for people going forward, rather than just distribution, which, Korean beauty products are pretty widely distributed at this point. So we want to do something a little bit different, I guess, going forward. So that's going to be the next chapter, starting, I guess, in the 1st of July. We're not going to be distributing products anymore. Yeah.
And having AI right at your phone would be definitely more easier, because I've heard that Seoul has stores where you can do that skin analysis, but going to a store is much difficult as compared to like sitting right in front of your laptop and getting that skin analysis done and getting to know what exactly do you need, rather than guessing that maybe this is something that you need. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So we have floor open for questions if anyone has any. Cindy has asked, what is the most popular trend in the Korean beauty market currently? And you have kind of already covered it, but the most popular one.
I honestly think that the biggest trend that I see in the market at the moment is the devices. I think they're the things that are catching a lot of people's attention. I mean, there are always multiple trends going on at the same time. In terms of, if you were asking about ingredients, then I honestly think that the science-backed ingredients probably are the number one trend at the moment. Things like retinol, collagen, peptides, stem cells, all of this kind of thing. That's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the releases, which is a bit of a change from the plant-based ingredient trends that we have been seeing for the past few years. So I think they're kind of what's trending at the moment. Skin analysis, all of this kind of thing, as you say, color analysis. People are wanting personal solutions for them. So yeah, that's kind of the key trends here at the moment. Yeah.
And how can you successfully enter and survive in the today's K-beauty market? Once you reach success, then it's kind of organic. But how do you enter this super competitive market?
I think to successfully enter, I mean, having a lot of money is definitely going to help you because it is expensive to enter the market, particularly as a brand. So financial backing, if you have that, is a massive, massive plus. I think having a product go viral can really change the success of a brand as well, although that's never guaranteed. It's not as easy as it sounds to have a product go viral. It's very expensive these days to, do that kind of influencing, I think, because a lot of the influencers, again, are very, very expensive. So you'll need a pretty big marketing budget to be able to, send products out to those kind of people. But I think more than any of that, you need to have a good product. I think a lot of brands overlook the importance of that because what is the point of getting a single sale if you're not going to follow that up with more sales? If people aren't going to come back and use the product again and again and again, then all of that effort, all of that money that you've spent to capture these people is just gone. And that's a common complaint that I hear for a lot of viral or hyped products is people go out and buy it once and they're like, never again. So I think you cannot underestimate the importance of really having a product that people need in their routine. And it needs to be different from other things on the market. Yeah.
Jessica had asked that you started in the Australian market. So how did you actually convince them at first to try the new brands that you brought back from Seoul? Because as you mentioned that they are very against the brightening products and things like that. So how could you convince them to use something totally new?
Yeah, I think the what I started out doing was just explaining the difference in the philosophy. This is what Korean beauty stands for. This is what the products are trying to do. Pricing obviously helped because the pricing compared to other things on the Australian market was very cheap. And people were interested to hear that they could get something cheaper that was as good, if not better quality than what they were already using. So that was a good way to get people in. And then, yeah, like I said, a FOMO to a certain extent, a fear of missing out. They were so beautiful. They were so beautifully packaged and different from other things on the market that once people saw that, they were like very intrigued. So it really wasn't a hard sell. And, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a lawyer by trade. So if it had been a really hard slog to try and convince people, I probably would not have a business today. But it was pretty easy. And once people tried one thing, they were booked. They were coming back. So that was kind of how I started out, just sort of explaining the differences and why they might want to try the products. Then once they got a look at them, people were in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that can be said about the Korean beauty products. They are effective while also being super cutely packaged, and it's like you want to have them. Whether or not you'll use them or not, you just want to look at it and be happy.
Yeah. And I think that was the fun angle as well. Like people were intrigued. The skincare brands that existed back in 2014, they were very clinical. They were very plain. There wasn't anything jumping out at you like, try me, try me, try me. These products were totally different to that. Like, one of the first brands that really took off, I think, was Skin Food. And, they had this whole food for the skin to eat. That was the brand concept. And I mean, it was just so much fun, the ingredients, the way they were using them, the way they were talking about them and marketing them. It was just fun. People were interested to see what all the fuss was about. Yeah.
I really hope that you guys enjoyed listening to my chat with KoreaProduct Post. I hope you learnt maybe something new or just even a little bit more about me and my businesses. So that is a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate everyone bearing with me while the schedule has been so out of whack. I feel awful about that, but there is just absolutely nothing I can do. It's just, I feel like life working against me at the moment. So I've just had to take a step back and go, you know what, we'll get back to it. It'll all be fine. But for now, we are just a little bit out of schedule. So I am prepping currently for the next episode. I would love for you guys to stick around and listen to that as well. So make sure that you click the follow button or the subscribe button, depending on what platform you're listening to your podcasts on. And I will see you or chat to you in the next episode.